Okay, so we'll make a start. So what we've got, this was a test that I did yesterday. You can find that on my account. Those were some British paras, and we took something like probably 20 minutes to do those three figures and base them. That's everything included. So I'm going to try for a similar sort of time on the goblins. They're both identical. Very basic little figures. I got them from, I think it was Temu. I got 2 sets of them, so I've got 2 identical goblins. So what we're going to do is we're going to work through how we do it using these AK markers, Playmarkers. I find them really, really nice. They are real easy to use. And it's interesting where I've got some of the real colours and some of the Playmarkers. The Playmarkers look larger and they are more fantasy and sci-fi based, whereas the, I'm just going to move that back so you get a better view of the figures. The real colour markers are much closer to sort of modelling type ones. So we're going to start off with the goblin skin. I'm going to try this and see what the colour looks like. So a little bit of a shake. And you can see it's like using a pen, except it's paint. Oh, I like that colour for the goblin. So we're going to use the interior yellow-green, which is number 23. So I'm going to make a note, 23 skin. So all you do is just like using a pen. And I'm not going to worry if I go over things, because these are very, very forgiving. They will paint over themselves quite well. You can get problems sometimes where you're trying to get into nooks and crannies with them. They're not quite as forgiving as a paintbrush for that. But we're just going to get all the skin. And then onto the arms. Quite nice little figures, these. I always like low-level D&D. I just find that it's more fun. And you haven't got all the complications of power creep and everything. And goblins are, let's be honest, they are one of the classic D&D monsters. Classic role-playing game monsters. There's something about goblins that just makes them fun on the tabletop. Particularly, I suppose, if you're a Games Workshop fan and you're using the sort of the mentality of goblins and orcs, you can have great fun with that. So we're getting there. That's the arms done, and then we've got the feet and the legs. I don't mind if I go over. I'm not the neatest of painters, but this will cover over when I come to use a different colour. So back of the foot as well. Now these have got something wrapped around the leg, a sort of greave. They're quite well armoured for goblins in that they've actually got chain armour underneath there. I'm not going to call it chainmail because that's a bit redundant. What I didn't bring with me for this was my magnifying lens visor. It's really nice. I'm going to be doing a review on that shortly, but that's the first goblin done. I'll quickly do the second one. So exactly the same. So I'm just doing it so I might try a couple of variations, and then if I do try variations we can compare how well the two have worked. I've got one idea I'm going to try for that. So, go around, getting all green. That's quite a nice choice for the green, that actually. I'm quite happy with that. I bought a couple of packs just to try these out. I've got a couple more on the way. But I'm also going to show you a little trick later on that you can use if you've got a paint you like, but you then can't get the equivalent in these markers. There is a very clever little way around that. You can see I'm speeding up a bit for this one now. and along on it. I got inside to get that on. There we go. So that's the green done. Next thing we're doing, I tend to block out big colours. So I'm going to use the black because we're going to use the black on the armour. And we're also going to use it on the weapon. Because goblins are not going to have nice, shiny silver weapons, are they? So I'll just put some black on there first. I'm going to do something else with it in a bit, which will make it a bit less, I suppose, Stormbringer-like. You know, have somebody turning up with a black sword is really sort of a magical thing, isn't it? So let's get the armour sketched in. If you go over something, all you need to do is get the paint back out when it's dried, and these do dry remarkably quickly, and then just go back over the areas that you've made the mistake on. So I don't over worry with this. These are incredibly beginner friendly, if I'm honest. And like I say, while I'm not classed as a beginner, hey, I'm going to be realistic. If it makes it easier for me to paint, I'm going to use it. That shield I'm not going to do in black, I don't think. I'm going to make that a little bit more colourful so that we actually get a bit of colour on the figure, because if we're not careful, this could turn out to be a very dull looking figure. That's the bulk of that done. Very easy to miss things with this, particularly in this sort of lighting, but if you miss something, you just go back and check it. And that's the beauty of batch painting figures. If you're painting more than one, if you realise you've made a mistake, it's easy enough to go back and change it, because by the time you get back to it, the paint's dried, because you've looked at the other figures. And generally what I do with doing a big batch of figures, I'm only doing 2 here, so it wouldn't really apply. If I'm doing a big batch of figures, what I'll do is, once I've got them painted up and I've spotted mistakes, I don't correct it straight away. I get to the end and then go back with the same colour over all of the figures that need it. And it is faster that way. So that's the black on there. Move on to the other figure. Exactly the same for this initially, but I think I will try a couple of different techniques just to see how they work. Very, very easy to use. If you can use a pen, you can use this. And to be honest, I am finding it easier in many ways than a paintbrush. I couldn't tell you why. There's probably some reason. Probably because I suppose we hold pens a lot more than we hold paintbrushes. Or at least my generation did. I suppose these days it'd be using a keyboard. Could have done that armour as a more leathery look, but I like the idea of doing it black. The initial colour at least. It's easy to forget something. I did that last night when I was doing the paras. It was like, oh yeah, I forgot that bit. Very easy to do, but also very easy to go back and do, because as you can see, I'm not having any problems with paints bleeding into each other. They are incredibly quick drying. You know, I'm going back to a figure as soon as I've done the other one, and I'm not taking long on them. Full of character, these faces, I've got to admit. For a little cheap little figure which was literally bought as a crowd filler more than anything else. I just want plenty of these so that I've got big forces I can throw at PCs. because that's really what happens with goblins. You want lots of them because they're going to die really, really fast. Right in there. So we've got the armour and the sword painted. I said I was going to do the shield a different colour, and I think there's probably a logical colour for that, which is red. It's going to add a bit to the character. So let's have a look. Let's do the shield. And while I've got the red, what I'm also going to do are the eyes. Just dots of red. Not hard, but it does make a little bit of a difference. If you can see, I'll bring it into shot. You can see those red eyes just give them a bit of character. I suppose what I could have done is painted the eyes in the shield red as well, but I like the idea of a whole red shield just painted red. And it just gives a little bit of character, because if I paint all the goblins up with a red shield, at least the front of the shield red, what it means is you've got a ready built sort of tribal badge, which means that the creatures that seems to have got, I think I should have painted that a different colour. I'll redo that in a second. What you've got is you've got sort of tribal identity, which even if you give them slightly different paint jobs, that one unifying theme brings it all together. And when if you're building up a small force, the trick is to very much have a force where they're unified in some way. So I did that black on the other one. It's hard to tell if it's armour or leg because you can't see that much of it. I didn't do his eyes. That's what I mean. It's very easy to forget stuff. Let's put our 2 drops of red in there. Now bear in mind I went over that area in red a second ago. It's already dried enough for me to put the black straight over the top of it. I'm going to go a little bit lower with the green as well, whereas I haven't carried on with that, but the black and red are not colours I've got a lot of, so it's very easy for me to remember them. Lots of greens. Touch up a couple of bits while I'm in there. So I've got those two. Then to there. Now what I'm going to try on one is I'm going to try a little bit of the orange. Okay. Yeah, I've done the orange. So what I'm going to do is just make it the sword look a little bit rusty. Just a little marks on it, just to make it look that little bit like a typical well-maintained goblin weapon. One of the reasons why the players won't then try and loot it. So I'm going to try that on that one, and what I'm going to do on the other one is go into silver. What I'm going to do with that is go just lightly along the edges and just lightly pick out a couple of bits towards there, just to give it almost like the channel down the centre is a slightly different colour, because then it just makes it look a little bit more interesting. Now there is some very nice rune type carvings on it. I'm not going to get into that, but I could just put a wash on that would highlight them out. But that makes that look a bit different. And I'll just, with this one then, just put a bit of the silver in. It's pitted, but that's going to be a very rusty, nasty looking weapon. But we'll have a nice sharp edge on it. Because if it's one thing goblins will get right, it's that. And in fact, what I'll do, let's try it on the shield. What I'm going to go for, I was thinking silver, but I'm going to go for black. I'm actually going to put the eyes in black on the shield. same just where the nose is. And it just gives that little bit more character to it. So let's do the same on this one. Okay, that's looking good. Spotted a bit of mist there, and since I've got the black handy, let's just do that. So let's give a bit more character to the goblins' faces, because that's always something that looks like it needs doing. So I'm going to find a darker green. This looks like a good one, interior green. Let's just have a look against it. I don't know if it's different enough to stand out. Yeah, probably just enough. So what I'm going to do is just go to the goblin's ears and just put that inside. Hard to tell where it is, but it just gives that little bit of extra depth to that figure. Now I've got the teeth. Now the white I've got hasn't come yet, so what I'm going to use, I'm thinking what the average goblin teeth are like, I'm actually going to use a skin colour, dark skin, and we'll see how that's going to look. I think it's going to be too almost orangey, but actually better than I expected. So I might just live with that. Yeah, actually I think that works better than I thought. So I might just settle for that. Now with the silver, I'm now going to go back and I'm going to pick out some of the armour. So let's have a look. Just going to take the edges, just running along the edge, just to highlight the edge where it's going to get a bit more wear and tear. Just patch it on then so that it's looking a bit like it's tarnished and worn, which, like I said, with goblins, that's about right. This is where this isn't the ideal thing. This is where you probably could do better with a brush. I'm only going for a beginning look, so I can live with that. Just want it to look that little bit battered. And the best way to do that is just little patches of silver on it. We're not going for golden demon standard here. We're going for the sort of thing that you can drop on the table, group of these, and the players aren't going to be looking too much detail at your painting. They're going to be too busy working out how they can kill them, and that's then problem solved. So, okay, that's looking okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some of the leather colour, and I'm going to use this to get on their belts. They do have belts, but they're not particularly well defined. But by painting the brown on the belt, you give an impression of more detail. And this is often the trick, making it look like there's more detail. Now, these aren't intended for real detailed models. And there are some absolutely beautifully detailed models out there. But the thing is, they're hard to paint. The more basic model, we can get away with a lot by just having the impression. And I'm going to use some desert ochre, is that the colour? Desert ochre, yeah. I'm going to use a little bit of that on the back of the shields, because I want them to be effectively wooden but faced in metal. And again, it's another colour. So just dropping that colour in just gives a little bit more life to that figure. So we've done a very quick paint on those two figures. I could do a lot more to them, but there's enough for what I want on there. And this is one of the tricks for painting. You want something that's quick and speedy and gets it on the table. Particularly if you're a new player, you want some monsters. I need some monsters. I need monsters. Let's do them quick. Let's just get something on there. Yeah, you'll probably be embarrassed a few months down the line. We could improve that and then do some more with them. Now this is the trick I was talking about. I haven't got a grey come yet. So what I've actually bought are some pens of my own that you can fill with colours. And I filled this, I know it's a Citadel colour, I can't remember which one it is. I'm just going to give that a light go over, but I'm trying not to hit the recesses on the rock that the goblin's standing on. So just lightly go over that, just give it that little bit of a two-tone colour. That'll do nicely. So you can buy these in packs. I've bought a pack of them. I think it's about 5 pens with different size nibs. I've set a couple up. I've got that one in a grey. That one is actually a wash. It's Agrax Earthshade. And then what's in that one? Oh, it was a white I've just used. This is my grey. So actually, what I'll do, I'll go back with a bit of grey, mix in the colours. Now that one hasn't set quite as well, or dried quite as well, because of the type of paint it is, but I can live with it. It blurs it a little. That'll do me fine. So that's that done. Let's actually bang some basing on them, because it looks a bit basic. Now, you could just do a very straight, simple paint the base, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to use, as a very cheap alternative, wood filler. Now, it comes in all different colours. I looked around, I think I paid about £5 for this, and what it's given me is a really nice mud effect. Now, you can see I tend to leave half the coffee stirrer in there. I've also got in there, you can see I've got a bit of sprue that I've been using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of this on the base, trying not to cover the rock. A bit much for this. This you've got to be quite fine on. If I'm basing a figure that doesn't actually have a base, I'll bang all this on the base first and then push the figure into it, building up around it. So I'm trying to get right up to the foot there. Now what I could have done to possibly make it a bit easier on me, which is typical of me, I didn't do the easy way. You could paint the base first. If I painted it a brown colour close to this, in a worst case scenario then, if when I was doing it I missed a bit, it would just show through as brown and it wouldn't be as obvious. What I'm trying to do is not get any on the rock. Get that around there. We've got the rock, as you can see there, sticking out. Need to get a little bit there between the legs. Make sure we get all of the ground texture in. And this isn't hard. I've now got a goblin on a nice muddy bit of ground. Again, you could stop at this point, but I'm going to take it a tiny bit further. I've got some static grass. Now you can get static grass applicators, and I do have those. They're great, but all I'm going to do with this one is just sprinkle a bit on. Because what I'm trying to achieve is sort of a patchy bit of grass, bit of mud. We've also got the rock, with the end result that I've got a nice little mixed base that could probably go on anything. You can buy the clumps of static grass, also just to stick on, and that would probably enhance it. I'm out and about working away today, which means that I haven't actually got all my normal modelling stuff with me. I set myself a challenge that everything I wanted to use for this, and painting up the British Airborne that I did yesterday, had to be packable in a little tiny box, because all I want to do is just have a couple of bits while I'm sat in the hotel, Just do a little bit in an evening, just paint up a figure or two. It's good practice, just get into the habit. Whenever you've got chance, paint up. It's very easy to go, oh yeah, I'll do that later, and then you never get around to it. So I find it really good practice to just take a bit with me and have a go. When I was in the Army Cadet Force, it was well known when the people would walk into the medical office where I was working, and I'd be painting something up in between waiting for my next injured cadet to arrive. And I ended up painting up a whole Highland Division band, including the tartan that way, over one summer camp. Get right in there. Make sure we haven't missed any bits. And the beauty with doing it with a mud texture is you can have it as quite rough. So that's that bit. Let's go back to putting a bit of static grass on. Tap it to get any excess off. And we've now got two goblins. Now, they're not pretty. They're far from being really nice figures. But at gaming range, that's going to do the job. There's enough for me to recognise what it is. And what I will do, I think, just to tidy it up a little, I'm going to go back to the black, and we're just going to paint around the rim. If you're very old school, you could probably find a really nice goblin green colour to do this. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm talking about there. If you do know what that was like, I'm probably very surprised you're watching my video, because you'll know far more than I will if you've been around that long. So, got the black going round. Working out which way it works better on. I think it's better that way. I've got there we go. It's fallen off. I was going to say I've got a little bit of static grass on there. It's come off quite easily. What I will do when I finish this is take the bit of static grass off there. What we'll do once I've got this done, probably we'll do it after the second one, but I'll show you now in case I forget. What I'm going to do with it is just give it a quick wipe on there. Most of the static grass is coming off. And back on. Now they're not bad, these, depending on what you're looking for with them. They'll vary in price. I think realistically you're looking a good deal, if you're buying them in a set, would be something like, they work out something like about $2.50 each, something like that. If you're buying them individually, you might be talking about $4. I picked some up from a hobby shop and I got a nice little deal. I picked up a couple of sets, and I picked up another set off Amazon, and I've got another set on order that I was hoping was going to arrive before I went away, but it hasn't. I know it's sat at home waiting for me. My wife will be wondering what it is, but she'll know it'll be something gaming. But they are very, very fun to use. I'm just going to go back through with the goblin green and just highlight one or two little bits up, particularly there where I got a bit of rust on his forehead. Make sure I get. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it along the outside of the ears just to tidy them up. I'm not entirely happy with the mouth, with that orangey colour, but I suppose it does nicely for I suppose, yeah, sort of dodgy teeth, because goblins aren't going to be known for their dental hygiene. Go. So I'm not painting them up, like I say, for Golden Demon. I am painting them up for chucking on the tabletop as an encounter monster. And it's worth noting, in all fairness, that this will be with my grandkids. They're not going to be worried. They're also not going to be brilliant at looking after them. So I don't particularly mind if they're not particularly good. But there's the actual figures. I don't know how well you can see them. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. So you can see it's not brilliant, but it's enough to represent a goblin on the tabletop. These will be getting ready to ambush my PCs near Fandalver, or Fandalin rather, and I think they've come out okay for what I want. This is not, like I say, an advanced painting session. This is beginning, get them on the table, have fun with them. Hopefully that's been useful for you. So quick look, see if we've got any comments or anything. Let's see, we've got a few of you came in. I'm pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting to see that many. So hopefully you found it useful. And I will put this one up now on the channel so you can actually have a look at it. See you soon.